Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to share one of the largest expenses that most people have and how we can combat this expense, how we can save thousands of dollars per year, and then have that end up making us thousands of dollars per year by saving that money. It's going to be really exciting, and it's one that I think so many people overlook when it comes to budgets, when it comes to finances. It just gets overlooked so much. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. Okay, so we first need to understand the three biggest expenses that people have in their lives, right? It's housing, then it's transportation, then it's food, okay? Now, there's a lot of people out on the internet right now who are, telling us to, if we want to save money, we should stop buying coffee at Starbucks or something, which, it makes sense. Yes. Like if you skip a $4 coffee every day, that's going to save you $120 a month. But I think sometimes people are looking at the wrong stuff. When you're trying to find a way to save more money or just build wealth in general, you need to focus on going back to the 80-20 rule, which really means that 80% of your expenses come from 20% of the things, right? And so those things are housing, transportation, and food. So if we can find a way to save on those, it's going to really make a huge difference there. And so what we're talking about here, the number one wealth killer, the biggest expense that people have, or the second biggest expense, is transportation, okay, especially cars. So in 2022, I'm going to extrapolate a little bit, but in 2022, the cost of owning and operating a vehicle in the United States is likely going to be over $10,000 per year. So even if you have a car that you think is only worth $10,000, the cost of owning and operating that vehicle over the course of a year is probably going to be pretty close to $10,000. And let me explain why. It's going to kind of blow your mind because most people just don't do the math on this to realize how much it really costs them. Okay, so we're extrapolating this data a little bit because if we go back, the latest data set that we have is from 2020 for the average total cost for 15,000 miles on a car, which is about how much people are driving in a year, is $9,561 in 2020. So we're going to extrapolate a little bit because gas prices are up, car prices are up significantly, like 40%. So it's probably a lot more than $9,500 in 2022. Okay, so what I want to do is not only outline what some of these expenses are, but how we can save money with this. So if you're in for it, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so like I said, the goal is to help you save a lot of money. So let's pick through this here. We're just taking one example. This is a 2016 Ford Focus. So this is a 6-year-old car, and the value of this car is $12,800. But the cost to own and operate this vehicle over a 5-year span is about $38,000. So what does that come out to per year? I don't want to do the math on that, but it's probably close to $8,000 per year that is costing for you to own and operate this vehicle. Now, this is a Ford Focus. This is a pretty low budget economical car, considering that the best-selling vehicle in the United States is an F-150 and a Chevy Silverado and a Ram. Those cost a ton more. So you're going to see how this really does add up. So even for a low-cost car that costs you $12,000, the cost to own and operate that over a 5-year span is $38,000. Let's break that down and see how we can save some money on this. Okay, so first of all, depreciation. Now, typically, besides this past year, which was a total anomaly, which was really weird, used car prices are up 40% over the past 12 months. That normally does not happen. So we have something with vehicles where we have to take into account depreciation, which is one of the biggest expenses of a car. When you buy a car, eventually it's going to be worth less and less and less every year. Theoretically, just ignore the past year though because of supply chain problems. So if we look at cars and vehicles, when's the best time to buy a car? Should you buy it used or new? So if you buy a new car, automatically as soon as you drive it off the lot, you're going to lose about 10% of that car's value. So if a car's worth $30,000, you drive it off the lot, it's now worth probably about $27,000, sometimes even less, simply because you broke in the car and now it's not new anymore. It's a used car. Okay, so you lose money automatically right off the bat. That's why if we look at depreciation curves, I'll throw one up right here for vehicles. You probably don't want to buy a car in its first couple of years. You want to buy a car that is at least a few years old, but also not so old to the point where it just becomes like a money pit and you have to throw in money into it every year. Trust me, I've done that before, and it's also a big pain because if cars are always breaking down and not reliable, that's also a problem. So finding a car somewhere on that depreciation curve where it makes sense, somewhere in the middle here, tends to be a pretty good bet right off the bat to help you save some money so that you don't have to be paying so much money for depreciation. All right, so I want to mention the sponsor for today's video, which is Wealthfront. So as you know, I like to diversify and mitigate some of the risk in my personal investments. And so what I do is I invest a portion of my income through a platform called Wealthfront. So Wealthfront, it's a sponsor for today's video, and I wanted to explain why I invest about 20% of my income through this platform. So Wealthfront, it's an automated investing platform. It allows you to passively invest into the markets with a diversified, customizable portfolio that helps you to achieve your financial goals. So I set some pretty lofty financial goals for this year, and thanks to Wealthfront, I've been able to set up automatic deposits into my Wealthfront account, which then get invested into various assets depending on my risk tolerance. And I think the best part about Wealthfront is that it can be totally passive, taking up very little of your time, yet it doesn't take away too much control over your investments. There's over 239 different investments that you can choose from on the platform. Thanks to Wealthfront for sponsoring a portion of this video. You can get a $20 sign-up bonus when you open and fund your first taxable account on the platform. I'll leave a link to them down below. It's a limited time offer, so you can check that down below or go to wealthfront.com/Nate20. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the other expenses here. Taxes and fees, you can't really get around this very much. The way you can save some money on taxes and fees is by having fewer vehicles. I know some people who have 3 or 4 cars, and every year they have to pay registration fees. They have to do a number of different things to make sure that their vehicle is compliant. They have to take it for inspection, and that can really just add up if you have a lot of vehicles. So kind of like slimming that down and making sure that you only have one vehicle can help save some money on taxes and fees. Then we have a small sliver here, which is financing. This is essentially going to be the interest payments that you're making on a vehicle. So most people are not buying a car in cash because they can't afford to just drop $20 or $30 or $40,000 on a vehicle, and so they end up financing that vehicle. The thing to know about this with financing is if you want to save money on this, look, just don't pay a high interest rate. If you have bad credit, you probably shouldn't be buying a car that's really expensive because you're going to be paying a huge interest rate on that. Typically, I won't pay any interest rates over 5% in this market, because if I'm paying like 7% interest on a loan, you might as well just put that money into, the stock market or literally anything else and probably make more money on that rather than just bleeding out money for financing a vehicle. Okay, fuel. How do we get around this? Look, $11,866 for a Ford Focus for a 5-year span. That can really add up a lot. Gas costs are up significantly over the past year or so. And honestly, just between you and me, I think that they're going to keep going up. But that's just a personal opinion. Even with Biden releasing 1 million barrels per day from the strategic reserves, I still think we're going to have a lot of problems with gas prices. How do we save money on that? Well, if you go onto Twitter and, I see a lot of rich people on there saying, everybody should just go buy a Tesla. Why doesn't everybody go buy a Tesla? I only have to pay $8 a week to charge my Tesla or something. But the truth is, I think some of those rich people are a little bit disconnected from the real world, not realizing that most people can't afford a $50,000 electric car. And even if you can save a lot on gas, it's still really expensive up front. So I don't blame people for not being able to buy a Tesla or some Rivian or something that's going to cost them $100,000. So yeah, like I said, I think some of those rich people are a little bit disconnected from the real world there. And hopefully Teslas will become a lot more affordable so that fuel costs can go down significantly. Insurance. How do we save money on insurance? Here's one that is actually probably the best tip that I can give you here in this video, which is to every year, what I do is I call up insurance companies and I just shop around for new car insurance. Turns out a lot of people just keep their car insurance for years and years, sometimes decades, without ever questioning whether they can get a better deal. So I have this marked in my calendar. I want you to do this as well. If you get even one little piece of information out of this video, just get this right here, okay? Once a year, I have down on my calendar to call up my insurance companies for, home insurance, for if it's renter's insurance or car insurance, and to just call up, shop around, even for electricity, you can shop around for that, and just shop around for different types of insurance, and you can get that down quite a bit. I know that I do this every year, and I save money every single year. I say, hey, I have Progressive, and then I call up State Farm, and I say, hey, do you guys, can you beat Progressive's prices? And sometimes they can end up beating those prices. In a lot of cases they can, and you can save a lot of money just on insurance, because you can see here $7,200 over a 5-year span for insurance. That's over $1,000 per year for a Ford Focus. Also with insurance, there's 2 different types, right? There's collision and there's liability. Everybody needs to have liability. If you want to drive on the roads, you need to have liability insurance. for a car, like if you hit somebody or, whatever, you get in some accidents, there's some liability insurance there. But then there's also collision. If you have a really expensive car, you definitely probably want to have collision, because if you total that car, you want it to be covered there. So then we have almost $10,000 between repairs and maintenance. We have $3,200 and $6,200. Combine that for about almost $10,000 for repairs and maintenance. So this is actually the one that I think people can save a lot of money on, and most of us don't do this. And the best way to do this is to just spend some time learning about a vehicle. I've been saying this for years, and I think a lot of people just kind of blow it off. But look, most people kind of view a car as like this magical box that gets them from one spot to another, and they don't understand the basics of how a vehicle functions. Literally just spend some time learning about your car, and you're gonna save a ton of money. I change my oil in my truck because, if I go to Jiffy Lube and have them do it for me, they're probably gonna charge me like, I don't know, 150, 200 bucks, when I can just go to Walmart, get a big tub of oil, and just do it myself in my driveway in probably about the same amount of time that it would take. And it saves me a lot of money over the course of my lifetime. Over the past 5-6 years since I've been driving, I've saved a lot of money by just changing oil myself. Get one of those OBD2 scanners. I've mentioned them before. You can probably pick one up for 15, 20 bucks on Amazon. Basically, whenever there's like a check engine light that comes on your vehicle, you plug this puppy in, and it basically reads you a code. You can figure out what the code is, and you can find out what the problem is with your vehicle. And then you can just watch some YouTube videos, read some car manuals, and fix it, and probably save yourself $10,000 over a 5-year span by not having to take it to a mechanic all the time. Now, of course, if you have serious problems with your car, like your brake lines are like not working or something, go take it to a mechanic. Please don't try to play mechanic on things that are really important. But if it's a simple fix, you might be able to do it yourself and save a lot of money. But I want to share a personal story with you. So back in 2016, from 2016 to 2019, I did not have a car, and over that 3-year span, I saved probably about $20,000 by not having a car. Now, this was actually by accident, because in 2016 I was driving around somewhere near State College, and my car, started steaming, and then it started smoking, then it caught fire, and then the whole thing just literally blew up, fire department, everything. It was, kind of annoying, right? Lost my car, but it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, because from 2016 to 2019 then, I didn't have a car. I just went without one, spent a lot of time at Greyhound stations in Harrisburg, Allentown, Philly. So, not the most exciting, not the most fun by not having a car, but saving $20,000 over that 3-year span, I then invested that into the markets, a lot into individual stocks, but also into index funds and ETFs. And that $20,000 turned into almost $50,000 from the money that I saved by not having the car, directly put into funds in the markets, and basically doubled the money over that 5-year span up until today in 2022. And so that's really why I made this video, to show you just the power of that, not to just theorize about it, but to show you from saving $20,000 on vehicle expenses over a 3-year span, it turned into $50,000 almost. And potentially that $50,000 chunk, maybe in a few more years, might be closer to $100,000. And so that's what's really incredible about it. And I'm not sitting here saying this to brag in any way whatsoever, but just to show you that, if you can quite literally just cut down on some type of insurance, don't go without insurance, but if you can switch your insurance to a different company, or if you can start to repair your car yourself, or if you can find a way to maybe just get a more gas efficient car, that can save you a ton of money. And with that money saved, you can put it into investments that then end up compounding, and then could potentially, buy you a car later on down the road from the money that you save right now at the moment. So that's what's just most important about all of this. Okay, so if you can't cut out your car entirely because it's just not practical, then I want to give you 5 big highlights here of how you can save a lot of money on your vehicles. Okay, so the first one is to definitely just shop around for insurance. You're going to save maybe a couple $100s per year over a span of time. That can be a lot of money, especially if you invest that and it starts making you money instead of costing you money. So shop around for insurance. The other option, become a 1-car family. Okay, a lot of people that I know, they have multiple vehicles. They have 2 or 3 or 4 cars per family. It might be kind of annoying to only have 1 car per family, but this is going to save you a lot of money. And if you can save $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per year by cutting back on a car, and you put that money into some investments, even into some index funds through Wealthfront or something else along those lines, that can end up making you a ton of money, like what happened with me from 2016 to 2019 and how much that turned into today. So that's something that you could do right there. The other option, just start to learn about vehicles, right? Really important. Another option is to live closer to wherever you work or wherever you end up having to commute to. So, for example, if you're in college, consider just living really close to the campus and being able to walk everywhere and not even needing to have a car. My brother, for example, he got a job in a city and he decided to just live like 3 blocks away from the school that he's teaching at. And so now he doesn't even need to have a car, and he's saving a ton of money from that. If he went and lived 20 miles outside of the city and had to drive into work every day, it would cost him a lot of money in gas, wear and tear, depreciation, maintenance, all kinds of other things with a vehicle. And so now he's probably saving close to $10,000 per year by just living next to where he works. It's honestly kind of genius, and he saved a lot of money. He had that flexibility. Not everybody has that flexibility, but still, it's something really great. And the 5th option is to simply just focus on buying a car at the right part of the depreciation curve. So if you do need a car and you can't get around it, look, used car prices are up 40%. It's kind of annoying, I know, but buying a car at the right point of the depreciation curve, so that you're not buying it in the first 2 years when we see this massive drop off, but instead you're buying it between year number 2 and year number 8, tends to be a pretty nice sweet spot right there. Okay, so I hope those tips were actionable for you to save some money on your cars this year in 2022. It's just such a big expense that so many people don't think about that I had to make a video about it. So thanks for watching the video. Go ahead and check out Wealthfront if you're interested in investing through their platform. And I'll see everybody in next month's video, maybe next week's video, who knows.